Good afternoon, everyone. Um, my name is Megan Bam, and I work at the University of the Western Cape. I'm the tutor coordinator in the biggest faculty at the University of the Western Cape, which is the Faculty of the Economic and Management Sciences. I have the responsibility of supporting and developing 234 tutors in our faculty. We have 7 departments, and each tutor is expected to tutor at least once a week, and there's a maximum of 30 students per tutorial. Um, the tutors also prepare their tutorials, their consultations as well. What I do is at the beginning of the year, I induct the new tutors. And during the year, I do midterm training with them. But I'm alone. I'm a single person in that tutorial space, and now with Sue joining, and Karin, I won't be that lonely anymore, I hope. This is my philosophy, Smarties and the Goldfish. I believe that we are all the same, we're all Smarties, we're all just different colors. We have different needs and interests, and that is the approach I use in our faculty because we have the Department of Accounting, very different tutorial system. We have the Department of Industrial Psychology, very different. We have the Academic Development Department, very different. There are some genetics and then there are differences. So I work with the genetics. The differences that is discipline specific, and I do not get involved in that side. But I work with the general development of the tutors. The thing around the goldfish is, and I'm glad you used the goldfish, is that I believe we're all goldfishes as well. We swim in our bowls. We can determine when we can swim in a bigger bowl, and we can. So my approach towards the tutors and our students is providing them with opportunities so they want to swim in a bigger bowl or in a bigger pond because they are capable of that. Um, okay. The one thing I noticed, I've been doing this since 2012 at the university, is that tutors always gave me feedback about the fact that they want feedback about how they're doing in their classrooms. Now, if you have 800 students in a first year module like Management 1 through 2, it means that the lecturer sees these 800 students, but it's the tutor that has that contact with the students on a more regular basis, which means that the tutor standing there is not really sure, listen, am I doing the right thing, am I not doing the right thing? Is my teaching style correct, not correct? Am I effecting change? So they said to me, Ms. Pam, I really would like someone to come and look at what I'm teaching in order for me to improve my teaching practice. Usually it's the lecturer who needs to do that. But if you have a lecturer who has 800 students, and there's 39 tutorial spaces, you can't do that. It's just not possible. It's just too many tutorials. So, while we talk about the learning and success of students, there is a huge gap that I see. I see it in our faculty, I see it at the university. I've even looked at the documents, the new generation documents, and all the other documents about what is the role of the tutors and the tutorials, because they provide a critical service in teaching and learning. And it's very important for us to look at how do we improve the teaching practice of our tutors, because they're also asking for that. The other thing is that every year I do the same questionnaire on Google Drive, and I ask the questions, why are you a tutor? Now one would think it's because of the money. 60% of the time is because they want to experience. They want experience and to learn new skills. So we have a responsibility towards upskilling them as well, because they're there at the coalface. Okay. So I did mention we have 234 tutors. We have 5,000 students in the EMS faculty. Okay. So then I thought to myself, okay, how am I going to do this? It's only me. I can't always ask the lecturer because there's so many tutorial groups. I thought, wow, why don't I pay the tutors? So I tried 2 different things. In the School of Business and Finance, I paid management tutors with finance tutors, and then I went to economics, and they were only first year tutors, and I paid senior tutors with experienced students. Senior student tutors with novice tutors. Right. I went to look at what does the literature say about a peer review of teaching. And most of the literatures and models on peer observation related to academics, using peer observation in order to gain promotion or for training purposes. And it was very little related to peer observation of teaching by tutors, and was mainly done at universities in Australia. So then I looked at what Val and I always struggle to pronounce this. Yes, exactly. I think something to say. Yeah. And I used their model. So what I then did was, when I do the tutor induction, at the beginning of the year, I ask tutors to role play new tutors, and they are then observed by senior tutors. Take us through your first tutorial, and then I have a checklist about what are the characteristics of an effective tutor, and they are punctual, well prepared, demonstrates enthusiasm. So these are the 15 characteristics, you could say, that makes you a good tutor. That's what the literature says. I don't always agree with them, but this is what they learn at the beginning of the academic year. Okay? I had a pre-meeting with the tutors. This is the process I followed. I had a pre-meeting with the tutors. I then paired them, and they observed each other using this observation schedule. Interestingly enough, on this pre-observation schedule, it says, has the tutor gone over the previous tutorial's learning outcomes? Has the tutor recapped on the previous learning outcomes? There's also prompts for them. And it was also a way that I could verify that I'd closed that, sort of closed that circle from induction to the classroom. After they'd done the observations, they wrote a little reflective piece on the process. I must say, around the reflective piece, this is where I got a lot of the meat, because I discovered that when you're sitting in the classroom and you're observing and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I don't know that, I don't know that, oh yes, I do that. You're thinking about more about your own practice. And you also then tend, this is also backed up by literature, you tend to score your peer higher on the checklist than in your written reflective piece. You know, there's a disjuncture between the two. And then I facilitated a feedback session. So I got the couple to come and sit with me, and I then facilitated a feedback session between them. So the one who used the sandwich, hamburger model, and what did you say? Your shoes are beautiful, you've got great personality, but your hair looks good. Something to that effect, yes. Let me go back to this. So what I wanted to say was, around the checklist, I found that they scored each other really, really high. So then I was more interested in, what does the reflective pieces say? 3 themes emerged from this reflective pieces: an enhanced awareness of good teaching practice, a critical reflection on their own teaching practices, and the value of doing peer observation. They even went as far as giving me lots of recommendations of saying to me, Ms. Bam, it would be nice if we did peer observation in the first semester as opposed to the second semester. And it also gave lots of other feedback. I think that my colleague that I observed should have started with the learning outcomes first instead of last, you know, so it's that type of thing. So they also then reflected on their own practice by watching someone else, by observing someone else. These are some of the reflections that we got back. The experience gathered from this helped me to reflect on my own methods and be more involved in the learning process. It helped me to get insight on the way other tutors tutor and learn ways to improve my tutoring, which I think is beneficial to me as a tutor. I think observation is a good way of helping improve the quality of tutoring and also for the development of tutors in they receive feedback of the good they are doing as well as that which can be improved on. So it's a lot about how they improve their own teaching practices. This I found quite interesting. These are economics tutors, and the one gentleman, his name is Ken, he's from, funny enough, Kenya, and he's one of our top students in the faculty. And he, oh gosh, he observed a girl named Zeliswa. So he says, if I can read it to you, what I learned from Zeliswa's style of tutoring is that of perhaps being more vulnerable to the students. This allows them to feel more comfortable to ask questions, because he was quite authoritative in the way he presented. Also, the way in which he uses a voice is more the way one speaks to a friend while explaining, rather than how a lecturer explains to a student. I like that. So he had time to reflect on his own style. He then got the idea that a tutorial is very different to a lecture. So my thing is, if we're not going into the tutorial space to find out what our tutors are doing, how they are teaching, how we need to support them, They will never know things like this, and they will go in there thinking that's a mini lecture. Oh, sorry, I'm doing that. The observation exercise, in my opinion, was to say the least sensitizing. It made me aware of certain practices which I might have unconsciously carried out but was never conscious of. So it was a lot about them and their awareness. Um, in conclusion, I do want to say that this was very short, yes, time intensive. I had 72 tutors. I had 52 in one department and I had 20 in another. It's very big to manage. So I would say in a program like an ECP program, like if you had your quants modules and accounting, we have smaller groups of tutors, this would be quite effective. If you have more staff, then you can do it with bigger groups. Um, so if you could extend that to your program. Then around tutor commitment and initial apprehension. Because I'm the tutor coordinator and when Ms. Bam says we are going to be doing something, they come. That's kind of prescriptive. So they may come in there and initially they're really apprehensive and why am I doing this, again, I'm here again. And even if you tell them, no, you're getting paid for it. No, why am I here? But then they get into it and they write down that initially I just didn't enjoy it. I was out of my comfort zone. I had the senior tutor observing me and I was thinking, oh my goodness. But then the senior tutor tells the junior tutor, listen, I learned something here. It's fantastic. You should see the smiles on their faces. So it builds camaraderie amongst the tutors as well. Now this is my biggest bugbear is the lecture involvement. During this process, there was no lecture involved. And that's totally not cool. So, if this needs to be done correctly, then to close that gap, we need the lecturer involved in supporting the tutor. Then, also to be very clear to the tutors when you do this process is it's a safe space. Do you know that ethic of care? The reason we're doing this is not so that we can find out that you're teaching poorly. It's to improve because we continually improve. We want to be able to swim in that other goldfish bowl. It's a safe space. So that's very important to make sure that they understand that. They don't feel that they are exposed. And if they feel that they don't want to participate, then they should be free enough not to. Be clear about the process. Now this one, when I did it initially, because I tried it twice, something wrong with your listening here. I'm sure. Be clear about the process. The reason about being clear about the process was that it was new to them. So you have to be really clear. This is what we're going to do. This is why we're doing it. And this is what I require from you. So, because you can lose valuable time with this. Because you only have about 7 weeks of the term that you in order to do this. So time is of the essence. Then what I found interesting is that it would be interesting to do another study which would look at your reflection on your own practice versus before you actually go into the tutorial. What am I reflecting? What am I thinking about? While you're in the tutorial, what are you thinking about while you're tutoring? Are you thinking about, oh, I forgot to do that, I forgot. What are you focused on? And what do you reflect on after the tutorial? And that in a nutshell is my story. Thank you very much.